Welcome to another episode of French Toast Fridays. My name is Andy Jolivet, and I'm here with my buddy Tyler.
Hey. Hi, Andy Jolivet.
So, Tyler, we are in the world headquarters of Oak and Glen. Behind the scenes is our buddy Marko.
OG. Marko.
MZ, Mr. Zitzer.
He's the one that makes all the magic happen.
Yeah, microphone-less magic.
Yep.
Well, microphone-less for him. We, of course, have microphones. Otherwise, they would not hear us.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Thanks to Marko.
The three of us are buddies. It's been now at least a year or two since we had French Toast at your house, Tyler.
That's where it all started.
And we were talking about, hey, stories, people, inspiring people with stories that they're living out. And
telling those stories.
Yeah, and how we could do that. And it just happens that the three of us have flexibility. We have businesses we run that we want to kind of get that story out in the world, but we also want to tell other people's stories in the world. And Marko has all these cameras.
And microphones.
So
we're like, we can do this.
Yeah, and because of him, we can do this. And today's episode to do that is with Justin Lay. Justin is the CEO and co-founder of Reema Health.
And a great guy.
And a good dude. But before we talk to him, and by before, I mean we already talked to him, but before the people watching and listening to this see that conversation with him, I want to talk to you.
Yeah? You want to talk?
I want to it's been a while since we've recorded one of these.
Yeah.
We're excited to be back in the saddle.
We're back.
We talk about being simple and sincere with plenty of syrup. That's the kind of tagline of this show.
French Toast Fridays. Keeping it sticky.
Yeah, keep
and
it
it's
sticky.
fun. It's fun. We didn't actually have French toast today.
No.
But it was in our thoughts.
But there was still a sweetness.
It was.
And I think a sincerity and simpleness for that.
Yeah, and we're excited to be able to share a great story with Justin. And so minus the French toast. We can still do it. And people will still enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
even the people that enjoy French toast. I suppose the best case scenario is that you're eating French toast while listening to this.
That would be we actually had a guest that made their own French toast
For their kids.
Yeah.
The morning of.
Yeah. And then we shot our shot.
We shot our shot.
So
we recorded our recording.
Yeah.
So I guess if that happens to be you, send us a note. If you have any comments, FrenchToastPod@gmail.com is how you can reach us.
Like us.
Yeah.
Let us know if you have any thoughts on what we could do better.
Yep.
Or how good we're doing.
Yeah.
How good Marko looks.
Yeah.
So
looks, doesn't sound.
It's crazy. Out of all the cameras that he provides us and everything that's viewed, he's the best looking one out of all of us.
I know. That's the irony of all this.
So sad.
Do you think we'd be more popular? People would like it more if he was on here?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just imagine if we could snap our fingers and Marko would be sitting right there.
He has that editing capability, but he's not going to do it. He's
Hold
so
on,
modest.
I'm going to try that.
He's humble. Boom.
Didn't work.
It might work post show.
Post show.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if we can do that.
Talk him into it.
If the people are clamoring for it, we'll give the people what they want, and we'll get some Marko in the pod. I'm excited to see you again. It's always fun for us to do this. I mean, part of this was an excuse for us to hang out with each other because we're friends. I think our guests know that, but they also enjoy being the focus of the conversation. But it gives us a chance to hang out.
Yeah, to talk a little bit, catch up, see each other.
Yep.
Talk about how you trim that beard up.
Yeah.
Looks nice.
A lot of work.
A lot of work goes into that. I can't even imagine.
I don't know that I love it. So
like
we'll
it.
see summertime if it stays around.
Wonder if it'll be itchy for you come summertime.
Yeah. Well, that's where the trimming.
You guys do a lot of outside stuff during the summer, so
yeah.
Could be itchy.
Well, for those of you who have actually decided the rambling nonsense of these guys hasn't turned me off, and then we're going to wait it out till they get this Justin guy on, who actually sounds like he probably says things that we care about. You might be driving to work or from work. You might be on a treadmill.
At work?
Yeah, you might be at work.
On a treadmill?
Yeah, you might be on a treadmill desk at work. You might be just taking a moment to try to unwind. And like we said, you might literally be eating French toast. We believe that life is best when it's simple and sincere with plenty of syrup and with some inspiring conversation. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation of French Toast Fridays with Justin.
Justin.
Here we go. This episode of French Toast Fridays is sponsored by Legacy River Coffee. Legacy River, savoring tradition, one sip at a time. Justin Lay is an entrepreneur and a creator. He is a visionary leader, thinker, and solution builder. He's a husband and a father, a proud resident of Minneapolis, the city of lakes, Southside to be specific, yes? He is a business launcher whose career arc has had themes of connecting people, combining resources, and improving the lives and the well-being of individuals and communities. He once held the impressive title of Entrepreneur in Residence at the UnitedHealth Group, and is currently the CEO of Reema Health, which he co-founded in 2020 with a mission to transform how people navigate the gaps between healthcare and social care, which we are excited to learn more about. But while preparing for this conversation, I actually scrolled to the bottom of your LinkedIn profile's experience section.
What's in there?
And I learned that your first kind of foray into business ownership was with something called Walls, Floors, Doors, and More.
That's true.
And since Tyler and I both coincidentally live in homes with walls, floors, doors, and more.
Yeah.
I knew my market. I really knew my market.
I think we're both 4 for 4 on those. So we actually are excited to learn more about that as well. But without further ado, Justin, welcome to French Toast Fridays.
Welcome.
Thanks for having
What's
me.
super impressive is you had to scroll down to the bottom of the LinkedIn. You'd go to my LinkedIn and it's all right there.
No, you know,
I haven't lived much of a life.
you had to click a button because there's, it shows like 3, 4, 5 or whatever the normal one is, and then it says see more, and
you
it
had
said
to
like
expand.
it said like see 10 more, and I was like, holy crap,
Justin
this
is
dude.
diverse.
And it's not like he's
I'm
80.
old. I think Justin is old.
No, he's not even
Yeah.
like 80. So it's like he's done some stuff. And I will say, I got to get the name right. Walls, Floors, Doors, and More.
Yep.
Wasn't just something you started as like, some people have like I started a lawn mowing business on my own, and I did it in the summers during college. This was like a legitimate thing. You hired and employed people, and it ran for like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So like, it wasn't like a little experiment. It was like a real thing.
Was there a person for each department? Walls, floors.
The walls guy.
I'm vice president of Walls.
All right. That guy's the president of More.
That's great.
What did they do?
Yeah.
I think it's obvious.
Yeah. I mean, come on. My friend that came up with this name after a couple of
You
drinks,
needed help with that?
is going to be very proud of this conversation for sure.
Made a podcast.
So what, were you in college or after?
It was before. I started this when I was 17.
Holy.
Yeah. It started as interior painting, grew into be a lot more. We would remodel and fix up homes, that we buy and sell them. It was fun. Had a good partner that helped with the buying and selling part. We had a few employees. So basically I started it when I was 17. I took 2.5 years off after high school, and then went back to do my undergrad at the University of Minnesota and ran it all the way through my undergrad, which is kind of awkward, right? It's like I'm going to school and I'm like sitting next to people that are like really worried about whatever's happening in the class and their friends, or maybe they're hungover from the night
Yeah,
before.
you're
And
worried
I'm
about
like,
business.
Okay, I've got this customer that needs this thing.
Yeah.
And this other customer, So
Real
it's-
life problems.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I want my wall a different color. This is a problem.
I'm so interested to find out what was painted under the More category.
We did a lot of random things sometimes.
Oh, okay.
One of our best stories, my closest partner who would buy houses that we would fix up, needed to get power to a garage in one of these properties, and so he was like, "Can you get a ditch from here to there?" And so we like rented this giant ditch witch, and like, have you ever seen one of these?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
Anything like that, Tyler's done before.
I love ditch
it's
witches.
We got it like stuck between like the house and the fence, and like had to like
yeah.
cut the fence
Maneuver
to
it.
like. Oh
It
my
was
God.
like one of those Austin Powers things, like
Yeah, a lot like that, except with like this 2-foot chainsaw.
yeah, with the
you know?
chainsaw on it.
Yep. Lots of good stories from that time. Man, I learned a ton from just like having a company, how to have a company, how to have employees and customers, and like the pain of like a customer being upset about something, and like the feeling I get from that, you
Yeah.
know, like that sticks with me.
Or
Yeah.
even the possibility that a customer might not be happy.
Yeah.
Like I live with that. Like I have a little side business doing cocktail parties, and I have one tonight. And I just got a message from the host of that party, and like she asked a question about something that for whatever reason in my brain, I interpreted it as like she's upset with something, or she's potentially not fully satisfied with something that we're doing. And like, it was grating on me.
What could potentially be a pre-worry?
I'm
on
not
making
going to put
cocktails?
her on blast in this
She might
very, very public
Was it your
format.
face? What was it?
Long story short,
Oh, you make your ice?
no. It was around like what she had. I donated the party to a nonprofit silent auction several years ago. She bought that. And then there was a little bit of confusion around what was included in it. I don't have a liquor license. And so when I do these parties, I will go and buy all the ingredients and things for the cocktails, but I don't sell them to them with a markup or anything like that. They get reimbursed. I don't have a liquor license, so I can't sell them alcohol, but I also can't,
You
especially
also don't ID. So
yeah. Well, I know I do make sure of that. I have
Police are gonna show up any
I have a
minute.
bartending license. There's a certain kind of like obligation I have for that, over serving people, making sure they don't drive home and do damage to themselves or others. But there's this reality that like, especially, and think about this, if you're donating your time and energy, that's one thing, but I'm not going to donate an item and then have to pay a bunch of money for the thing. And so there was just like some confusion around whether or not the alcohol was included.
Okay.
Because you're hosting a party, you're going to buy food, you're going to buy, like, there's a lot of expenses, and she already overpaid for this thing, which is great because it's going to a good cause. But she did that probably at a party event where she's having some drinks, and she's like, I'll do that.
Sure.
And it's years ago. So I felt like she was questioning whether or not I was being transparent or honest.
See, but I think this, I'll call it anxiety. I'll label your feeling for you here, Andy.
My doctor has also.
I think there's an asset to having that anxiety about customers. And this is like a thing that I feel like I learned, I'm like in people's homes is a thing they care a lot about, and I feel like I learned a lot about what that anxiety means. I was probably not great at like really working through it when
You
I
were
was,
young. Your brain was still
18.
developing.
So I didn't even have a fully formed prefrontal cortex at that point.
Far from it.
Yeah. But I think now it's really an asset, right? Like feeling that anxiety, like, oh, this customer might be upset. Or if I do this thing in this way, they might be upset. I think it causes, like, shapes behavior in a helpful way. And this is a thing that is true at Reema today, that like keeping customers happy is the number one thing, right? And being able to anticipate what things might upset them and doing things in a way that will keep them happy is like a huge asset for any company. And so I think that anxiety that you're talking about, now you got to shape it and mold it and whatever, but like it is a fantastic asset.
Our brains are hardwired to be emotional, which is to say emotions hijack the system. Mm-hmm. And yesterday, I was at my day job and I have these side gigs. And so I'm getting a text from someone who's, part of my little other thing. And I'm meeting to meeting, busy, stressed. So I'm not thinking like, it's not like I've taken a deep breath and reflected on this and go, what is she going through? What did I do to cause this, confusion? I'm just like instant reaction, and you just go with it. And then you're like, oh, wait a second. And so when I got home yesterday, I was able to like compose myself, review what I had submitted to for the auction, realize I wasn't completely clear. I was able to construct a message to this woman saying like, I apologize for the confusion. Here's something that I can do to kind of help share in this to make it better. So going into the party today, I don't have any sort of concerns about like where we're at. Right. Yeah. I'm excited for it. It's going to go well. She was like, thank you so much. I appreciate that. No worries. We'll be good. We're excited for the thing.
Yeah. So it's like a healthy turn on the anxiety.
Yeah.
Right?
But I had to take a deep breath and like think about it.
Yep. And then it helps you send a message that, makes them feel comfortable. There's lots of clarity now. If you didn't feel that anxiety.
I always talk about anxiety is helpful. Like it's that sense that like, probably it won't happen, but something could go wrong. I mean, we teach our kids, I don't have kids, but you guys teach your kids to look both ways before they cross the street, right? That is like a minor version of anxiety of even just like, there might be a bus coming and I don't want to get hit by it, so I should check. And sometimes we can actually sense those things, like we can hear it, see it, like just we know it might happen, so. But this isn't about me. Justin, you are the one sitting in the middle.
A little bad. I didn't teach my kids that.
You live in the country. Yeah. What are the chances?
It would really hurt with the bus.
They might get hit by a turkey, not a car.
Sure.
You may have already started answering this question. But what was your first job? Like, what was the first thing you did where you got paid? And I'm not saying like, chores by your parents because they gave you some money, but like, what was your first job? Was it walls, floors, doors, and more?
Oh, no.
Not this guy. way earlier than 17.
I had a paper route. That was probably when I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 or something like that. But my first real job was Burger King at the age of 14. As soon as I turned 14, I was like legally able to like get a job. Worked at Burger King.
In the kitchen.
I was the front of house guy. I was
Like
taking
working the
orders.
register?
Yeah, that's right.
Also, like they're like, hey, this guy's good with people at 14.
Maybe, yeah.
He's
or
ready.
we don't trust him with the burgers. That might be that too.
It could be the flames they don't trust you with. Don't put this kid by fire.
We had another guest that was a Burger King.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Fletcher.
Paul Fletcher.
And
I don't know if you know Paul Fletcher from Cities 97, on air dude.
Yeah.
That was his first job, too.
Right.
Maybe you guys work together. Do you know you and Paul?
Everyone who ever worked at Burger King knows each other.
They all went to the same training facility.
So wait, where did you grow up?
Richfield. Yeah.
Okay, so this was a local Burger King.
It was in Bloomington. Yep.
What was it like to work at a Burger King?
Learned a lot there too. I had the owner was really great. It was like, it's right across the street from Kennedy High School. And it was just like a community around it. My good friend's uncle owned it. But yeah, again, like how to talk to customers, how to work with people who are having a bad day and just like want a meal, or like, have all sorts of specific things they want in their order. And I don't know, there's just a lot to learn in like working with people and figuring out how people tick. And, I think there's a bit of like natural disposition for me to just like be good at working with people. But I think I had to learn a lot about that over time.
Anything we do takes reps, right? Like you get better and better at it the more you do it. I mean, that's just the reality of anything.
Yeah, and you can only imagine a fast food joint. People are going to come in and be a little bit on you. What?
Oh yeah,
I want this fast.
Well, your advertisement says I can have it my way.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
And so it better be my way.
Yeah.
There's pickles on this.
Getting it from this 14-year-old punk kid behind the counter.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it.
So that was the first job.
Yeah. So you said you took 2.5 years off between high school and college?
Yeah.
Was this to dedicate yourself to the restoration and the condition of walls, floors, doors,
And moors?
Well, what were you doing during that? Were you
We're
traveling?
definitely running the company.
Okay, so the company was doing stuff during that time.
For sure. Yep.
But and it had been going well enough from the age of 17 to then that you're like, college can wait. Did you know you were going to go to college someday?
No. I really hated school. I was pretty bad at school.
Okay.
Shout
out to all of Justin's high school teachers who
man.
did not inspire him to learn.
No, that put up with me and the pain I probably caused them. Did not like school. Was not good at school.
Spoiler alert: he has an MBA now. So
He made it through.
I never thought that would be possible. But I think, a theme for my life is I really need to learn things the hard way. Like I really need to, like people telling me to do things or telling me things like doesn't really.
You're hands on.
For sure. And it's like, I got to figure out, this is painful. I should do it differently.
I'll rent the Ditch Witch. I'm sure I can figure it out.
That's right.
Ditch Witch is stuck.
Yeah.
The hard knock life.
I probably would not use a Ditch Witch today.
Yeah, you learned that lesson.
That's right. I might still.
They're fun.
But no, I think finished high school. Even my senior year in high school, went to an alternative school, figured out a way to only go to school very part-time so that I could work. And just didn't like school. But then, 2.5 years into having my own company, doing this work, a good friend who still takes credit for this conversation to this day, said to me, I was having a bad day. A customer was being particularly difficult, and I was having a real bad day. And
At Burger King or at the?
This was Walls, Floors, Doors, and More. And he said, Justin, do you want to go the rest of your life being the guy who is painting for cranky customers, or do you want to be the guy that is hiring someone to paint your house? And, what he was trying to say is you should go to school, Ironically, he was not going to school and never went to school.
Was he older than you?
No, same age.
Oh, life lessons from somebody your own age.
Yep.
But, was probably speaking to himself a little
I think he probably
bit
was.
there, too.
Yes. Yep.
And you took the advice.
Sure.
And he didn't?
How long after that conversation did you end up going to college?
Probably a few months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good for him then.
Yeah.
I mean, you said he takes credit for it.
You must
I give him credit.
What percentage of your paychecks now do you share with him?
He'd like that.
Right. You must have had it a little bit dialed in that you were going to go to college, though, if it was a couple of months after the conversation.
I mean,
was
not
just,
really.
wow.
I went for a bike ride after that conversation. This was a bad day. And it was like, yeah, I think I need to do something different. I don't think this is what I want for the rest of my life. I had also just met Erin, and so my now wife, and we were dating, long distance relationship at that point. But and so it was just like, yeah, I think I want something different for my life. But it is part of kind of how I experience the pain, and I can make fast decisions to avoid the pain. But if someone says to me, Justin, if you do it this way, you're going to experience pain. Like lots of people told me to go to college right out of high school, And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I went out and experienced the pain. And I was like, oh yeah, I do need to go to college in order to accomplish the things I wanted.
So what did you choose for a major undergrad?
Political science. I think I started with business, and then I started taking some math classes, and it was like, oh, I don't like these. I'm bad at this, because I didn't pay attention in high school.
Yeah.
And switched to political science, which was lovely. I was always been a news junkie. Have always loved politics, less so these days, but and so my undergrad is in political science.
Okay.
University of Minnesota.
Huh.
So you stayed in town. The business was still going then?
I ran it all the way through my undergrad. Had a few employees, and then sold it to one of my employees when I graduated.
Okay, so this was your first experience of starting something, and this is a theme, is starting this. I mean, like I said in the introduction, you were the entrepreneur in residence at no small thing, at UnitedHealth Group. And so by that point in your career, which was not, you don't have to scroll down on his LinkedIn to find that one. That one's a little bit more recent. But starting things has been a trend in your working life, right? And I think there is a certain kind of like entrepreneurial gene some people have. And I actually would say that the guys that I do this thing with, Tyler and Marko, definitely have it. I think I have a little bit of it, but I also maybe like a little more stability or need a little more stability than they do.
It's super interesting, though. Like in the entrepreneur industry, you often find people that love to start things
And don't
want
want
to. Yeah, and they get bored and they're like, I don't want to finish this, and they just want to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So, but it seems like you're a finisher too. To a degree.
Or you've surrounded yourself with some
Yeah.
people. I call it landing the plane, right? Like you have visionaries who can like get up to 30,000 feet, and they're great. But like eventually you're going to run out of gas. Eventually you actually have to take the idea and make it a reality. So you got to have somebody. It's the rare visionary who can also land the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would probably describe myself as more of like the jack of all trades. Like I am not the greatest visionary. Like I'm not going to come up with the most brilliant idea and grandiose plan. Like I come up with ideas and I plan them, like I am reasonably good at that. And then I'm also good at running things. I'm probably not the best operator, but like I'm pretty good at operating. In terms of like leading people, like I think there are probably better people leaders than me, but like I'm pretty good at it. I think the thing I'm probably best at is building like customer relationships and like really like building authentic relationships with people that I'm working with. That's probably the thing I'm best at. And I would argue I'm probably better at that than most people, but still like more jack of all trades than like amazing visionary that can't land the plane. It's like, I'm a good visionary. I can kind of land the plane, like that's how I would describe my skill set.
Well, and having that customer with the relationships, I mean, that carries over into the next thing you do. I mean, everybody's a good networker, and it's like, oh, how can I get into this piece? And so, yeah, so I could see that really working out well for you. But
There's one thing, I think the first thing that I knew about that you created was something called Hood Starter, which just by name alone, it's not like something like, oh, I get what that is. But like,
wait, name alone, you get what that is?
No, I don't think you do.
Oh, okay.
And I know you recently sold this. And so there's something about creating things. Some people create things and then they run their course and then they kind of just let it be done. And then there's something to be said about you start something and it has a life that goes beyond you. And maybe almost there's this recognition of like, it needs to be stewarded by someone else because the time in my life to do this is over. I got the next thing I'm excited about. But also this thing still has value and someone else actually sees value if they're willing to pay for it, but also like to lead it and take it to the whatever it's going to become next. What was Hood Starter? Kind of, how did you know when that was kind of it was on to the next thing, but then that someone else was willing to say, like, I actually want to take my turn at this.
Yeah. So Hoodstarter was born from this idea that like you drive by a place in your neighborhood that is vacant and you're like, oh, you know what, should move in there. But you don't really have a mechanism.
We're talking commercial space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you don't really have a mechanism to like affect what moves into that vacant commercial space. And so that's what this was, is that you could, list a vacant space and then the community could vote on what they think should go in there.
You could list a vacant space whether you owned it or not.
Correct.
Like you could just nominate like, hey, there's this cool corner building that doesn't have anything right now. I just think it should have something. And maybe it's like a pride of like, everybody likes to have their corner, like their neighborhood coffee shop. And I'm thinking specifically like in the city, like every neighborhood of Minneapolis is going to have like the coffee shop.
Justin kept listing those empty corners, and Starbucks just kept.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we got this guy in Minneapolis who's doing all this research for us on all the best spots.
Well, so what it ended up being was a tool that developers could use to build community buy-in.
Yeah.
When they're trying to.
You're crowdsourcing the locations where there's a demand for something.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been to that like basement meeting in a church where the community's gathering to weigh in on a development, right? And the developer's in the front of the room and the entire community's mad, not in my backyard is the theme, right? And so this became a tool that developers could use to like get input on their development without having to get yelled at.
Right, they're not coming in just blind.
Because there's already dozens of people who have said they actually think that this is how this space should be used.
Exactly.
And so you created this. I don't know exactly even how monetarily this works, Were the developers essentially your client in that regard?
Yep.
Because they have access to additional data or because they can have some sort of say in how it's being developed?
Access to additional data for sure, but mostly it's like they could create a project and they'd have, there are more features that they could use, where then they could get input from the community and the community feels heard, and they can also see, because here's the thing, you end up in that church basement and the loudest voices are not in my backyard, right? But most people are generally like, yeah, sure, development is good.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. And so in a church basement, that, NIMBY person is the loudest voice. But online, you can
balancing it out.
See, like if it's me, I've got 2 kids, I'm busy, I get home from work, I'm probably not going to go to that community meeting down the street. But I get a link on social media and I'll click on it and I can let my voice be heard that way. I'm much more likely to do that. So it broadened the voices that would be included.
What's an example of a business, whether or not it maybe would have happened on its own, but like that you helped facilitate or that Hoodstarter kind of helped lead to the opening of, maybe it's still open or maybe it just, kind of ran its course because COVID was during.
Yeah, I don't think I know of a specific business. But, some of the cool projects that we did, there was a good project we did at 38th in Chicago, now George Floyd Square. There's a place by our house that everyone wanted to become an ice cream shop. It's still not an ice cream shop. But this was part of the learning, is that like you actually don't have much power over what happens in a commercial space. The person who owns that building kind of has a say.
Every pickleball court
that's
is
right.
due to Justin.
Yeah. That's why it kind of became a tool for developers to get input rather than, the list of random commercial space.
So the person who bought it, what was their angle on it?
A developer brought it.
Oh, it was. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, just learned a ton, a fun project to have done, and learned a lot about just like making software and how it works and like iterating on a business. It's like we released as a certain thing and then it became a different thing, that became a different thing, and iterating to find the thing that's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's your friend's dad who was the franchisee of Burger King when you were 14. I don't know if it was some teacher who did actually connect with you and recognize that you didn't like school, but still, kind of helped feed into you. But do you have anyone whose face kind of comes to mind when I ask you who was the first person, other than a family member, a parent or whatever, who believed in you?
Yeah. Definitely a teacher. I had a band teacher in high school who definitely believed in me. He was like an interesting mix of like super high expectations and would let you know when you were not meeting those expectations. But just the kind of human that you wanted to do well for, And that mix for better or worse, just worked really well for me. Like I really wanted to perform well. At that point. Yeah. So that was all through high school. And, you know, I would wake up to get to jazz band at, 7 a.m. before school. And that was like my favorite 2 days of the week, you know. I got better at just playing because of him. And yeah, and he also like directed some plays that I was in. Yeah, just a thoughtful, caring human that was, it's not like he was the, cuddly feel good. It's like he was a supporter and had high expectations. And I think I learned a lot from that relationship.
What was his name?
Paul Schilf.
Shout out to Paul.
Yeah.
Is he still teaching?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. Yeah, he taught at college level for a little while.
What instrument did you play?
I'm a drummer.
Still play, right?
Still play, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a community in South Minneapolis where I have come to speak on a number of occasions, and that's probably some of my first interactions were when you were kind of playing in the band there.
Yeah. Still play, yeah.
And make time for it.
Yeah.
And think of Paul sometimes when you do it.
Oh, for sure.
Every time he hits that drum.
He's like me now, Paul.
All right. Me?
Well, there is a question I think it's been floating in the air since
Yeah,
we've been here.
right?
You don't realize it,
It's just all around us.
but you will feel its presence when it is put to word.
I can't wait.
And I don't mean words, I mean word.
One word. Aliens.
Aliens.
Thoughts?
Question mark.
As in, is there life?
That's your interpretation.
Okay. I mean, undoubtedly, I think yes. I think I'm a student of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I think statistically, there's very likely that there is life on other planets. What form that might take, no idea. But I think it is very unlikely that we are the only life in the universe. I think it would be myopic of us to think that we are the only life.
But
Right.
no personal experience with the extraterrestrial or otherworldly that you remember or have an awareness of.
No.
Okay. That's fair.
Cosmos, Neil's voice instantly puts us to sleep at home.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. He's so
Put that
good.
on. It's like, oh, yeah.
Is that the intended effect of it?
I think
now?
so.
Like, hey,
It's like, all right,
anybody want to take a nap?
All right.
Everyone go to sleep.
Yep.
Here's Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, man, Neil.
He has. I still like. I was a basketball player in the '90s in high school growing up, and so it just naturally lends to the fact that I liked rap music, hip hop, and there's a couple current hip hop artists that I like, and one of them, a guy named Logic. He's fascinated by all that. He's like a really smart dude. He's written a novel and other stuff too, but he has on a couple different songs and albums. He's had Neil deGrasse Tyson come on and like do some of that kind of
Really?
stuff that'll put you to sleep, but
Yeah.
like with like, vibey music or interludes or something behind it, and it's
That's
kind of a cool
amazing.
combination
Mix
of
of
things.
Neil and Enya.
Yeah, not quite Enya. If Enya had some hood starter in her, it would be So we talk ideas, we talk creating things, we talk about thinking about things or being open to things, whether it's another life form or just like what could be in our neighborhood. Right. But then it's the involvement in it. And very few people, I think, actually insert themselves in or get involved in it. You talk about your undergrad degree in poli-sci, an interest in politics and government, and then MBA, obviously business from an early age was something you were fascinated by. You had a front row seat to see this person you knew, your friend's dad, who decided to, own a Burger King. And I don't know how much at 14 you were able to like ask him about the realities of being a business owner. You just knew that like, hey, I'm going to show up, do my job, and you're going to pay me for it. But you maybe were, started to perceive a couple of the other dimensions of how all this stuff kind of works, and then decided like, oh, it seems like something that I want to do. And then I want to do it again and again and again. How many businesses would you say you've actually started? Whether or not they like still exist or who cares, but
Of my own 3, and started a few probably when I was at UnitedHealth Group. Yeah.
you were part, because United was kind of giving you
the
latitude and the bankrolling
Capital.
of
Yep.
That's what I wanted to ask, actually, what that title meant. Entrepreneur
in residence.
in residence at United.
It sounds more glamorous than it really was.
Don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, does and it doesn't. I'm like, what? I mean, is that just something you made up, or is that?
Oh no,
Had
yeah,
that
what is
existed
that?
before
Yeah.
you?
Yep. Mhm.
Otherwise, okay.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, look, UnitedHealth Group is a giant company, and they do a lot of things really well. But it's hard at giant companies to like really build new things from the ground up. And so this role was really an acknowledgement that in order to do that, you have to like set aside a different space with a different set of rules and different capital in order to allow that to happen. And so it was a great job. I got to just kind of run around and try and figure out like what kind of problems are people experiencing at United, like in their market with their customer that, as United would be difficult to solve, particularly quickly, and be able to build things that could really solve that problem. Sometimes as independent companies, sometimes as like a new product for that line of business, and I got to build cool stuff.
That is such a cool job to come across. And you had previously talked about what you're really good at, what, you're okay at. I feel like you've got the street smarts that in that capacity, United is just a perfect fit. But then I can also see you wanting to grow too and do your own thing, which I think that's kind of what you morphed into. So, so you got your degree. When did you move into the United position from in this life?
Yeah, how does that fit in?
Yeah.
After Hood Starter? No, before. Hood Starter was kind of during
I was
that.
doing Hood Starter during United, off the side of my desk, yeah. So I probably started at United, 2009, something like that.
It's a couple years you were there? 2, 3?
At United? I was
Yeah.
there for 7 years.
Maybe in the role of entrepreneur and resident.
I was in that role for a few years maybe, yeah.
What did you start off with at United?
Building digital things
Okay.
in the health and wellness space.
Okay.
Sort of a little more, like product ownership in some form, like building new features, new products.
Oh.
The health insurance, medical insurance industry has been more or less home base for you for the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
That's where you've really cut your teeth and then found other things. I'm wondering, so although entrepreneur is in the name, entrepreneur and resident, it almost sounds like you were a little bit like you were accepting or even soliciting ideas, almost like grant applications. And you were but then you were also kind of a project manager of like distributing the funds and helping people like test these ideas and get them to like a stage where it's like, okay, there's approval for you to go and try this for a couple years, or here's the funding you have to give it a fair shot or something like that. So like you were both an entrepreneur, but you were also supporting entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I would say that the work that I was doing there was when starting any company, there's a lot of, particularly in my world, there's a lot of discovery you have to do. Like, is there a customer that wants to buy this? In my world, there's a customer, which is usually the health insurance company, and then there's what's referred to as the member, right? That is getting health insurance from the health insurance company. And in order for me to build something, I have to please that customer, and it has to be something it has to solve a problem for the customer, and it has to be something that the member actually wants to do. So there's a lot of discovery work to do, and UnitedHealth Group just provided really fertile soil for that discovery work, where I could just kind of walk around and really understand the problem I could solve for a customer, and then had access to members that could really try using the thing because it's UnitedHealth Group. And so it just was like fertile soil for that discovery. That's work that I have to do outside of United as well. But United just made it a very clear path to doing that.
Did you take that blueprint and then create Reema? Is that?
I would say I learned a lot
Yeah.
about that blueprint. I started a couple of things at United that, flamed out hard.
Okay.
Because, at the time it was like, oh, this piece of healthcare, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not super functional. It's a bit of a...
Not so much in the United States. No.
Yeah, right. It's a bit of a dysfunctional system. Not because anyone has bad intentions.
Right.
I would argue the system is filled with a ton of people with fantastic intentions. There are bad actors, of course, but individuals have really good intentions. But the system itself is pretty broken. I think we can all acknowledge. And so the job is to figure out how to operate within this system and try and do good. And so when I was in that role at United, it was like, this is broken. I'm going to lob a grenade in the middle and I'm going to blow it up and it's going to work better. Right. And it,
didn't always.
Oh my God. Just took some incredible blows to the face in that. I mean, just like I was sitting in an executive's office one time and he did not like the company that I was starting because it was kind of like blowing some stuff up. And I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this podcast, but I'm going to quote him. And he said, "This is bullshit. This is hocus pocus. Get out of my office. I'm shutting this down."
And you did what at that point?
Shut it down.
This episode of French Toast Fridays is sponsored by Oak and Glen, a creative studio with a passion for visual storytelling.
Were you out of a job then, or was that just
nope,
that
I got to start
project
the
was
next
done?
thing. But I learned like, oh, okay. And of course, like internal to United, like that's hard.
Yeah. You move someone's cheese way too far.
For sure. But even external, right? Like the thing I often say about healthcare is that in healthcare, the earth revolves around the sun, right? It just is. There are just certain things about the way the system works, right? And if I want to change it, I have to make sure that the solution I'm proposing acknowledges that the earth revolves around the sun. If I need the sun to revolve around the earth in order for my business to work, it's not going to work. And so I can sit here all day long and say, the healthcare system should change. And so I'm going to start this company and the sun is going to revolve around the earth. I am going to fail. That company's going to fail, right? And I feel like I really learned that in that role at United, that like you can't make the sun revolve around the earth. It's not going to happen. Neil deGrasse Tyson would say it's not going to happen.
That's true. So a guy that started off painting floors, walls, and moors,
Did you paint the floors ever?
I painted some floors, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
and had a lot of anxiety about how those customers felt.
Yeah.
What drew you to the healthcare world? I mean, what was the connection there? Was there an opening and you tried for it and you got it? And
somebody took a chance on me.
Okay.
There was an executive at United, he's still a friend today, that helped me get that job and said, to other people, like, you should hire this guy. And they did. And, I did not have the experience to get that job necessarily. And they took a chance and I just kind of made the most of it, each opportunity that I got.
It's funny though. I mean, the experience piece, obviously you've learned with that industry, but you obviously have the people skills. I mean, that person saw and was able to move you into that industry and you took it and grew, which you've seemed like you've done in every business that you've had. So I think that's been your strong suit from what it seems like, is that piece. So
Yes, I think that's right. Yeah. My ability to work with different kinds of people. It's a thing that I probably do have some natural disposition to do, but I've definitely had to learn how to do it better. So my co-founder, Matt, is a lovely human.
This is Reema, co-founder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And he has just taught me a ton about humans and their idiosyncrasies and the ways to work with them. I joke that, if Matt and I are both looking at a brick wall, what I'm going to say is, so if we pick up enough speed and we hit it hard enough, I bet we can get through it, right? Mm-hmm. And Matt's a little more like, if we slow down and take just the right angle, I bet we can get through it, right?
Sure.
So we make a good pair. Mm-hmm. But he's taught me a lot about working with other people and,
Did Matt come from United as well, or?
That's where we met.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we've worked together for a little more than a decade now.
Wow, nice.
My colleague where I work, we're both, like, she's on the operations side and I'm on the people side, and we've come to understand that we're like the marshmallow hammer. I'm the marshmallow, she's the hammer, because like we got to get stuff done, and sometimes you got to pound something, but like, how soft is the thing you're pounding it with, and that's working with people. Of course, you have to kind of deal with that person, not just like with a straw man.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so I shared the mission of Reema. I could actually use some help really understanding it, because in more or less you're positioned between. So like if an insurance company, the actual provider, not the medical provider, the insurance provider, is the direct connection to the, what do you call them? The
member.
The member.
Yeah.
Okay, the human being that actually needs the services and then the insurance to help pay for that. You are between the insurance, you're one step removed from that.
Yeah, think of us as a provider, like a doctor, right? Okay. So we're a little different than that, but that's the best way to think about it. So when you go see your doctor, they send a bill to the health insurance company. The health insurance company pays that bill, right? When the system is functioning well, that's how it works. So think of us as that doctor, right? But we're a little different. So we, rather than like setting up an office and just, serving whoever shows up to our office and makes an appointment, our job is to work with the health plan. We'll call them a health plan or a payer, right? The insurance company. They will give us a list of members, right, based on a set of criteria. Typically, they are likely to have unmet health-related social needs like food, housing, transportation, employment, etc. And they are likely to have preventable utilization in the future. So typically what I say is if a health insurance company sends us everyone that is like over $1,500 a month in costs over the last 12 months, and this is typically Medicaid members, about 40% of them are going to have a diagnosed behavioral health condition in some form.
It's an ongoing thing.
That's right. Yep. They're seeing providers maybe, or at least there's a history of that diagnosis. And close to a majority of the other 60% are going to have an undiagnosed behavioral health condition in some form. And all of those conditions are exacerbating their physical health costs, which is driving up this cost for the health plan. And so then Reema's job is to go find those members because they're typically not seeking care, right? For lots of reasons. Engage with them, build some trust with them. So we hire people from the communities that we serve to do that work. We call them community guides. And they go and just build a little bit of a relationship, right? We will exchange dozens of text messages about last night's episode of The Bachelor before we get to anything even remotely more meaningful, because we know that's the best way to build trust. It's not always The Bachelor.
Yeah, I was going to say, wow, this is a niche. So we only hire community guides that are really into reality TV.
But I think a lot of the approach, you go to your doctor, right, and it's like, fill out a form, or like in our world, everyone wants to do like a health-related social needs assessment. How many times in the last 6 months have you struggled to put food on the table for your family? It's like, well, if you just ask that question with your clipboard in hand, you're going to scare them off. You're not going to get honest answers, right? They're afraid you're going to take their kids away. So it's just not productive. And so our job is to build that relationship. And so we work in this interdisciplinary way. So we have the community guide. You just heard me talk about them. We hire them locally from the communities we serve. And then we have a therapist that's providing therapy for these folks, and a prescriber. That's a psych NP that is prescribing the right medications.
So you talk about it as a transformation, or at least an improvement, but transformation would be an improvement of the people that are navigating that gap between their health care and their social care. When I don't think all medical insurance providers are really concerned about the social care. It's like that stuff that you're talking about, like the impact that a diagnosis or undiagnosed things have on other health.
Yeah. Love this question. It's complicated, right? I think if you talk about individuals that work at health insurance companies, they absolutely care about the social challenges that the people we serve have, right? They can't afford food. Like, that makes other humans sad. The way the system works, right, and the lever that Reema pulls in the system is that if someone is struggling to put food on the table for their family, doesn't have transportation to go see the doctor, whatever the case may be, they are going to be more expensive to that health insurance company, right? And so the health insurance company cares about that. And so this is the earth revolves around the sun, right? The way the system works is that the health insurance company wants to reduce the cost of care that they have to pay, right? And it turns out when Reema shows up and pulls this lever and says, we can reduce your cost of care by improving the health-related social needs of these members, by improving their behavioral health care, providing services, so increasing your costs, health insurance company, but overall reducing their costs. These are people that we're not seeking care, and we're going to go find them and provide care, and the health insurance company is going to pay for it, but it's worth it for them because overall we are reducing their cost of care.
You've provided, to use your analogy metaphor, I never know simile, metaphor, analogy, the difference, but whichever one applies to this, so that my English teacher can say like, yeah, I taught him right. You are helping kind of remove the cloud. You're moving the clouds that are blocking the sun. for those people.
Okay,
So that
I like
they,
this.
they can grow and nurture. But also probably I'm trying to grow some new grass in some area that we kind of did in our yard last year. You're also making sure that there's a difference between like it rained last night here and that was great because I didn't have to go water. But that's also like a more steady stream of the what the grass needs to grow rather than me standing with the hose for 5 minutes. So like you're providing what the healthy growth needs in a way that then the insurance companies can benefit from because it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't follow that simile or analogy or anything you just did.
It didn't matter which one I called
nothing.
it?
No, that was long.
You're improving the conditions for this growth or this health.
Yes, we are providing care that these folks would not otherwise seek, and them not seeking that care makes their lives more difficult and makes the costs that the health insurance company eventually pays more expensive.
And the risk, and because they're on Medicaid, for instance, which now we got the poli sci, the government kind of dimension of this, but also like insurance companies can drop people that are cost prohibitive.
Not really.
Well,
The ACA prevents that.
okay. But I mean, it making it more beneficial for them to have that person as a member because it like kind of is working with their whole business model, profit margin thing.
Yeah, right. So they get paid a certain amount each month for having this member, right? For managing the care of this member. And that amount is set. It's a set amount called a capitated rate that they're going to get paid. And no matter how much healthcare that member utilizes, they get paid the same amount. So if they can manage the health of that member so that they're utilizing fewer services, the health plan is going to make more money, right? And so again, Earth revolves around the sun. Capitalism. It's the water we all swim in, whether we like it or not. And so in order for us to provide the care to these members, we sell to the health insurance company by saying we are going to reduce their cost of care so that you make money on that capitated rate that you get paid each month for that member.
So you don't get decapitated.
Yeah, sure.
Was there organizations out there like this before Reema started?
Oh, absolutely. There are all sorts of organizations doing, I guess there are people that do care management.
Yeah.
What's a little different about Reema, our core superpower is our ability to go out and find these hardest to reach members and build trust with them such that we can help them actually seek this care, right? That's a little different. And there's all sorts of tech and all sorts of stuff we've learned over the years that help us do that well.
So there is AI involved.
Yep.
In helping you understand who are the people that we could reach out to that we have the best chance of actually engaging with and helping. This isn't just cold calling members who on paper have some sort of met some sort of criteria. These are the people that you actually, it's worth your time for your community guides to invest in a relationship with and try to help.
Are the health insurance companies sharing that member information with you?
They are.
That's how you're seeing. Are you working directly with just one health insurance company or
Lots of them.
No, because you are okay. So let's maybe talk. I don't want to get too far ahead into the weeds of like what the business is.
This is good. This is like healthcare 101.
But I'm really curious about it.
Yeah.
But this is, but it's also you, the entrepreneur, who started this, and Matt, your co-founder,
Right.
So you guys
One
are
of my
both
co-founders. Yeah.
So you guys, so you, Matt, and the team are at United. How long before this actually
How long
happened?
did the non-disclosure?
Yeah. Well, there was though, but there was a
interest.
non-compete, right?
Yeah.
I did not have a non-compete with United.
Wasn't there a radius of anything that? No,
Not
nothing?
really.
Okay.
No. I could have started something right after United. I went to work for a company called Revel for a few years and led the product team there. That company grew super fast. I learned a ton about like fast growth in like a venture-backed environment. That was super fun. And then left Revel and started Reema. Basically, at Revel, I think we were realizing that there was a whole set of people that weren't really using what we were building at Reema. And this has been true for most of my career, actually. The things that I was building were going completely unused by a whole set of people. And mostly it's Medicaid members that were not really using the things I was building. And I was leading the product team at Revel and set out to figure out like, okay, why is that? Why are members that are on Medicaid not using our services? Yeah. And started doing some research, and whenever I do that, I sit in people's homes. We're like trying to figure out, how do you experience health and healthcare, and like, what is this to you? And I remember sitting in the living room of a woman who was a lot like my mom, single mom, 3 kids, and basically she was on Medicaid, and basically you dismissed everything we were saying. This is bullshit. Get out of here. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
She
to
was
me.
your
I would
executive
never use
again.
this. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's right. Yeah, good analogy. And I remember leaving that conversation and calling my mom and being like, Mom, I think I met you like 20 years ago.
So you already have the model of like, I have to be able to convince my mom of this.
Exactly.
If I can't get through to her or people like her, this doesn't work.
Toughest customer.
Even if we have a model that we can sell to the insurance companies to say, here's how it actually helps your bottom line and get care to the people that need it the most.
Yep. And that means nothing if you can't actually work with the humans that need this care, which is, you asked, are there other people that were doing this? Typically, that's how it goes. Companies will find something that they can sell to their customer, the health insurance company, but it does not work for the member.
Yeah, I was just curious, if this was new ground that you and Matt and the team started, if you had an health insurance company, would they want a proven concept, giving you a certain amount of time to prove this? And it's probably a numbers game as much as the people that do work for healthcare companies do care, it's numbers game. And to write off that mom with 3 kids being like, well, she's not going to come find us anyway, to have a intervention kind of an organization like you, is it worthwhile for the health insurance company? And I would say it would be, but how long would it take to prove something like that? Well,
that's where you go and you do it, right?
Yeah.
That's what was the scariest step in, like, you guys stepped out. You actually left United to do this.
So we left Revel to do this.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Were they at Revel also, or were they?
Please.
What's that?
Try to keep up.
Yeah, no, I there was a lot in that
I know.
experience.
I want to move out of this piece of the rabbit hole that we went to and find out more about Justin's life. Like, how does Aaron put up with all of
Well,
this?
there's
right.
You guys, I know you guys moved. You bought a house and then rebuilt in that space. You have 2 kids.
What are their ages?
They are 9 and 13.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're not at like an age where they're really cheap.
Indeed.
No.
Yeah.
And so all this stuff is happening while you're launching this thing. You're taking big steps. You are securing. You guys have investors. You have venture capital like behind you, but then of course you have however many months where you don't know if you are going to be making any money on this, because that's the risk that when you start a business, even if you are sharing that burden with other people. So like, what's the scariest part of that for you guys?
Yeah. It's all pretty scary for sure. We quit our jobs, went, 9, 12 months without a paycheck.
All of you.
The 3 co-founders. Yeah. Yep. I think, I don't remember how old my girls were. So this was like just as COVID was setting in. And so everyone was like a little scared, and I was like, I'm going to quit my job and start this company.
And Aaron says what?
Aaron was supportive. I think definitely like a little like, okay. But I think supportive. This is the thing about, you said like, okay, Justin, you've started a bunch of things. I think in order to start things, you need this like healthy mix of like confidence and naivete.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I'm so naive.
What some people would call delusional.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like a delusion that like, you're like, yeah, but
right.
I do think it will work. Here's why. Not just like I have a gut feeling it might work, but like I've spent enough time figuring it out to know. But maybe also there's a little bit like we can give this a go for X amount of months or years before we have to be honest and be like, it might not work.
Right. But yeah, I think the idea that I would start this company and it would be where it is today with all the incredible humans surrounding it and in it and working with it. I just could not have dreamed that it would go like this.
Because so we're now talking about 5+ years or 5-ish years. Yeah. And we made it through the pandemic. You've been building, I think about, we have businesses, but I think for the most part, we have a business that's us. Yeah. We don't really employ people. We might like contract some work, but we don't. So, then I think of the old adage of like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so you have already the 3 of the co-founders who have definite skin in the game. But then you are tapped as the CEO. So then there's another level of responsibility, but also agency within that. how do you decide when you start to build this team? What do you begin with? What do you recognize from what your experiences were from before and whether or not it was perfect or not? But like you start adding people. What are the roles that you add first?
Yeah, I mean, so we signed a contract, we got our first contract, and we hired a manager of the care team to serve those members in that contract.
With the contract with a health insurance company?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, just kept growing from there. And hiring more engineers, eventually, building a lot of software, sign more and more contracts, and I talked about iteration with Hoodstarter, but there was some iteration along the way in terms of the model and how it works. And now, I mean, we just are growing incredibly fast.
And community guides is how you really grow. I mean, it has to be, there's a scalability to it, but like you have to have the like direct contact with the members. Yeah. And so that's social workers, therapists, like whatever background they have, but these are people that are on the ground in locations. I know you've talked about you're in how many states now?
It's changing rapidly. I think we're in 6 right now. We're about to launch in number 7 next week, and we'll be in probably 12 before the end of the year.
So currently your headcount is something like 75 to 100?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Are you counting Canada as one of those states?
I'm not.
No, okay.
But you even said in the next year and a half, you'll be at 200 plus.
Yeah, at least.
And that is mostly the actual care guys?
Yeah, mostly care teams providing care to the people we serve. Yeah.
And that assumes expansion into additional states as well.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, it is growing incredibly fast right now. It's super fun. But the growth that looks like this is also just risky. It takes a lot of management, a lot of care to like really make sure that it stays on the rails and, that we're providing great care to people. We're taking care of our customers, taking care of our employees. Growth like this requires a steady hand for sure.
And now I have to contact someone named Bree to schedule time to talk to you.
Yes, it's true. My schedule is crazy. Mm-hmm.
So aside from that, because I want to think holistically, so much of, I think a lot of our identity and purpose is attached to what we do, what we create, what we give. But then, in your introduction, I intentionally said, in addition to being the creator, the innovator, the leader, you're also a husband and a father. And I would believe that Aaron and your girls actually like seeing you. And they like doing things with you, including not just like when you come home at the end of the day, but maybe even getting out and about in the world, maybe vacations. You said that you guys did an RV trip out west. Was it last year? Mm-hmm. And that was fun. I would imagine Aaron is pro vacation. Indeed. For the sake of, especially when your girls are this age. How do you do that? Like, how are you guys making time to do that? What's your like level of trying to balance that with the growing business?
Yeah. This is a weakness of mine. I'm bad at this.
That's actually why we're here.
Yeah, good. You're right. This is an intervention. Fair enough.
Turns out Aaron's right there.
Yeah. I'm not crazy. I'm not like Elon Musk, 100-hour weeks. But over 60 hours is pretty common and, sometimes up towards 80 if that's how that week goes. I work a lot. There's I don't know if you know who Scott Galloway is, but I listen to him a lot. And he says, when you're working hard on a thing and then something happens with one of your kids, your entire world shrinks to that kid. And that is absolutely true for me. I can be on the hardest, most difficult week at work, and something happens with one of my girls, and my entire world shrinks to them. It's not even like I don't even have to try at that. It's just like, oh wow, okay, I'm doing this now. In terms of vacations, I am pretty bad at taking time off of work. And before last summer, I would say my wife, my co-founder, my friends, my therapist were all like, Justin, you need to take some time off. And so we did. Took 2 weeks off of work. I haven't taken 2 weeks off of work since I started at Burger King when I was 14. I deleted apps from my phone. I went off the grid. And it was incredible. I mean, I learned so much about downtime. It's like, what an idiot. I had to be 40 years old before I learned that.
Learn things the hard way. I don't know if you,
Yeah,
I don't know if you knew
I
that about
do.
yourself, but
But I definitely learned about taking time off and not just like, oh yeah, you need downtime because it's like good for your soul. It is, it's those things, and it's good for my family, and all those things are true, but it's good for my business to take time off. The ways that my brain just kind of resets and like thinks about things in a new way, it's just like I could zoom out in a way that I couldn't when I'm so focused on it. It took me till 40 years old to realize that that's true.
So do you guys have something planned this summer?
We are currently planning. A month ago, all the girls came home from school, and I said, "That's it, girls. We're going on a trip in a couple of weeks. What do we want to do?" And they said, "We want to go somewhere warm, in an RV, and an amusement park." So we did. 2 weeks later, we flew to California. We rented an RV. We went to Disneyland. We went to Sequoia National Park. Yeah, I learned a thing. I learned a thing.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
That's good.
That's awesome. Legacy impact for you in your personal life through Reema, which I'm imagining you're going to stick with for a while. You have a passion behind it, and you and your co-founders are building something you believe in that you think matters in the world. Do you ever think about, or do you have an articulation or even a fumbling attempt at answering a question of like, what do you hope is the lasting impact that this will have, that you through this will have?
Yeah, I tend not to think too much about legacy. I want to leave the world a better place when I leave. I want, my family to be a healthy, happy group of humans. Those are things I want to be true. I want, right now, the way I think about like the long term is that I want the care that we provide at Reema to be sort of like a perpetual motion machine, right? If you think about the way this care gets provided to people on Medicaid today, it's often, nonprofits that have to get funding from, other nonprofits or whatever, donations. And it's just not a sustainable way to provide care for the least of us, right? The people who are struggling. That I want to change that. And so if we can demonstrate that providing this type of care is sustainable because of the ways that we reduce the cost of care for our health insurance companies, it becomes this perpetual motion machine, right? Because it's just going to keep going because it is fundable, right? And so I think about that a lot, that I want to redefine the way this care is provided and the way it's funded such that it can keep happening. So that's how I think about legacy for Reema. But yeah, I think for me, I just, generally want to leave the world a better place and want to have a happy, healthy group of humans that grow in my care as a family.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Well, we appreciate the time that you have given to us to have this conversation. It's fun, and we are, I think, proud to be able to share your story and just knowledge about what Reema is doing
and Burger
in the
King.
world. And Burger King. Yeah. I mean, if
they need the publicity.
Everybody needs it.
Perpetually number 2, right? I mean, that's kind of. But for you, in terms of the things you see out in the world that you care about, other people that you think are doing good, the only way we've really come up with a meaningful solution to how we can appropriately feel like we thank the people that are on this, because we don't pay people to be on our show, because that's not what this is about. But to give you a chance to kind of shout out some organization that's doing something that you care about, that you think is a good thing, and as a thank you, then we will make a donation to them and tell everybody else about, but you get to tell them first, and then we'll include a link and other information on our website. But who came to mind for you that you think is doing something that you think other people should know about and maybe support?
Yeah, there's an organization in Minneapolis that's working on homelessness and housing challenges. I think you say it's Agate or Agate, I think, but Agate. They've, the organization has morphed over the years. But Clara, my 13-year-old, has done some volunteering with them. Just a cool organization. I care pretty deeply about housing and people that are unhoused, and organizations just doing great work to help solve that problem.
Cool. Well, we will make a donation to them, and we will put a link to that. We'll also put a link to Reema Health and some other, maybe even Hood Starter, some other stuff. But look up Justin and the work that he and his team are doing. Maybe even if someone's watching this or listening to this and they have similar care for those people that the health system is not failing, but maybe is not supporting in the right ways, not just for the sake of profit, but really for well-being of humans. And maybe they could be a community guide, to look for job openings and opportunities to join the team at Reema and what they're doing. Certainly check them out.
We would love that. We were hiring like crazy.
Yeah. So cool.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for
Thanks,
being part of this.
Justin.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
This episode of French Toast Fridays is sponsored by Align Coaching, guidance to live in alignment with your purpose and values.
Thank you so much for listening.
Who are you talking to?
It's our Toasties. They're over there.
Nice. I love the Toasties.
Thanks, Toasties.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you. We really enjoy bringing these conversations, don't we, Tyler?
We sure do. And
Yeah.
our guests.
It's fun. If you would like to learn anything more about today's guest or anything that we talked about with them, visit the episode page on our website, FrenchToastFridays.com.
And don't forget to hit that like button.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in the world who are doing really cool things, are living great stories, and we want to continue telling those stories, helping
Share
them.
those. Yes.
So if you, the Toasties out there in that world, know someone with a passion and a purpose for the things that matter in their life, if you think that we should invite them to be on this show, please send us a message at frenchtoastpod@gmail.com. And always remember, Tyler and Toasties, that life is best when it's simple and sincere with plenty of syrup.
Lots of syrup.